Okay, so I had already started. Now I started over. So now I got to try and think back of what I was talking about. Okay, so one of the first thing I was saying was about the in Texas with all of the truckers and the land and the ice storm. And it's the map is so crazy how it matches the doomsday map when they show these storms. But this ice storm, I guess, just all of a sudden came in, and so all of these roads turned ice. Which I swear to God, I know they're putting something in the rain to make it more slippery, to make it more dangerous. And I had noticed that out here. I've been talking about it. Like, it's slippery. Like, there's no, like, even in when I'm washing my hair, I've been saying, like, the water that's coming out is like oily. I feel something on my skin. So whatever they're doing, I know they're messing with the water, and I know it's making it way more slick. Like, it's ridiculous the amount of pileups that have been happening. Like that one in Wisconsin, and then that other one I had seen, and then this one in Texas. But the amount of 18-wheelers in these pileups, and that is going to affect the stuff being moved around. Like all of the stuff that has to go from one side of the country over to the other goes on these trucks, and all of these trucks are being wrecked. So that's going to be an issue. I mean, oh, and this is crazy because so everybody's talking about let's see, this I think these words will be flagged for sure. So I gotta be careful. I got to be careful over some words. Like, even when I just started over, I said a word way too many times. That will be like, oh, no, they'll take it. So this one, because I know they're flagging this stuff about the things that lay the little things that people eat for breakfast. So all of those, that all these people, like, this isn't just in America. This is globally, because they were all getting the same feed. That's what happens when a corporation takes over the fucking world. We're all getting the same shit. So they're feeding them all of this stuff that is obviously, they put something in the food to make them not lay. So nobody's was laying. And so then people started trying to figure out what was going on. And there was other people, it just happened accidentally. But there's so many people talking about this with what's going on. And then at the same time, you have all these people who are not getting any of those little round white things or brown things, that now all of a sudden a whole nother food warehouse, where they had 100,000 of those little critters burned down, just killed all of those. How many have they killed now? How many motherfucking of those birds have they killed? Like, it's disgusting. Like, these people are, oh man, it's sick. It makes me so sick. They just burn it down. They got 100,000 of these fucking things that don't even have any life whatsoever, to sit in a little fucking crate. God damn, these people are so. And how many of these have they burned down now? How many of these animals have they killed and sit there? Oh well, it's the bird flu. That's what's wrong. We got the deer flu. We got oh my God. We want humans to starve to death. The problem. That's the problem. So with the, let me think, because there was like a couple things that was coming in like at the same time, because so the thing that is just released, and this I think was a tweet. This is a tweet that somebody had shared, but what has come out now is that those little round things make it where you don't get the Dovik. So magically, those things just have to disappear. We don't need those things anymore. We need the flu. Let's just make sure everybody's got that. So the things that keep coming out, like I mean, I don't know how people can even at all think. You can't see through that they're making us sick on purpose. They're fucking trying to kill us. I still can't get over that woman. This isn't genocide. They're not attacking one race. Like, oh my God. No, they're not. It's the human race. The human race. It's all of us together. That's what's the problem. So, and, when the world's being run by vampires, like, what the fuck? We're just their food source. And they have discovered that they don't need so many of us, that we're kind of a burden. They don't want to have to make cricket factories to feed us and, human waste. You know what? Somebody had showed these, it was out at their own apartments, I think, or it was a business place. It was weird because they went out into their dumpster and there was like tons and tons of animal skulls that look kind of like, I would say, like dogs, like a whole bunch, like, I don't know, 100 of them or something. And the person was like, what in the world is this? Like, why? Which is creepy. Like, if you went out to your apartments and it was all that, it was like, well, hopefully somebody dumped them. Hopefully somebody's not up there just killing dogs and eating them or something. Like, but what got me thinking was like, oh, I bet you that's a lot of what's in the fucking hamburgers that they have at McDonald's and all this shit. It's the fucking dead cats and dead dogs from the fucking shelters. Like, that's all the excess meat. Not enough cows to feed everybody. So, McDonald's meat, and there's not enough. I mean, they kill a lot of people and feed us that, but that's not as many as how many burgers are going out. And when you think about where could all this meat be coming from, what animals do they just kill at rapid rate? Dogs and cats. So, yeah, I would imagine that if we did some testing that we're going to find a lot of, like, all sorts of, I mean, there's probably fucking rats. Like, there's no telling what all gross stuff. And I saw this doctor who was talking about, he was talking about something that they put in to these things. What was it? It was something strange. I think it was crickets. There's crickets in it. And he said, some people can think, oh, big deal, they're just putting crickets in there. But he said it's very bad because it's the same thing as like shellfish. And so you have people who have allergies to that. And then, it's dangerous, then anaphylactic. So then he said it's just as dangerous, the stuff they're putting in there, because people, who are allergic to those things. And that is where we're getting all these kids who are nonverbal and stuff like that. It is because this shit that they're putting in there. And then, oh man, I don't know. All this stuff just goes so deep. Like, the pharmaceutical runs this world and they make money off of us being sick. The extension of their practice of making us sick and giving us the illusion that we're getting healthy is the medical system, where you go in and, oh, here, just pay. And even though it's a laundering system with insurance and corruption, that you still have your copay. So they're still profiting. They're still keeping you unstable in your own financial institute of your own home, your own life that you're creating. And this is something I see video after video after video of people that are just like, oh my gosh, I go and work and work and work and work. I never get ahead. You barely have in it the fastest, like, and we've all had it happen. Like you think you're like, oh, I'm getting ahead. I've got $100 in the bank. And then your car breaks down. And it's like, oh my God, but we're all kept at this very fragile state. And that is, this fragile state has got consequences. There's a whole outcome. And so we've all been walking this tightrope. It started in the 90s. Like, that is so clear. I think that they started kind of in the 80s. I swear to God, Madonna was probably a marker on the whole thing. And but then by the 90s, that corruption was just like, and then the sex on TV and stuff, like everything they do just gets more and more extreme, more and more extreme, and they just bypass us, like we don't matter. And then the more that they've gotten, I bet you if we did research into how many prisons there were before the 90s and how many prisons became after the 90s would be significant. you know, and I mean, you got to remember too that these are all privately owned. These rich people, it's like, how could we make money? Let's see. Well, we don't like those black folk. So if we get them to commit some crimes, we can just lock them up and they're strong. We'll use them. We'll get them to do the work in the prison and we'll tell them they have to. And then we'll get their wives to be left having to raise these kids with no money. Well, I mean, it's just the destabilizing. And then the one guy in Chicago, he said, because he's older now, you know, and now he's questioning things and seeing things, and you know, now he's noticing like, oh, suddenly the crates are showing back up again, like they want us to kill each other, and then plus they want us arrested. But he said, you know, it's if he leaves the inner city and goes out to the suburbs to go visit his white friends, he said it's just totally calm. You know, no, there's not people walking around with guns. He said, you go into Chicago inner city, 14-year-olds, he said, everybody's packing. Nobody is walking around without something because it's so dangerous. They're all ready for cowboys, like, oh, it's just shootouts, like, and that fucking mayor, like, god damn. And, you know, I mean, she looks like an alien. Like, there's so many of these people. You can see that they're not fucking human. Like, and, I just can't wait until, I mean, more and more keeps being seen. But, you know, it's those of us who are these weirdos who are watching. Once it's, you know, goes on to the main stage and everybody sees it's going to be quite the show. This guy too, this was very moving to me this morning. I was like crying over this guy's story. As you look at him in his, you know, his whole room and everything's real dark, real goth. He's very goth looking, you know, he's got his beanie and everything is black. He's got tons and tons of black eye makeup on. And he starts talking about his NDE and his depression, and you know, he shot himself too. And but the thing that was just so freaking cool is because he was talking about, you know, he hated himself. He just hated himself. He'd had a divorce and he was just so down on himself, and so he shoots himself. And then immediately when he died, he was with himself. And all of a sudden, you know, because everybody thinks like, oh, God's coming. No, it's you. Your higher self is who you will be there with. Except for some people, you know, because they can't accept that. They're still stuck in that, you know. So then they can create like Jesus or whatever, you know, it's all in there. So he faced himself. And he said what he faced was so much pure love for him. It's going to make me cry again. Because it was him dying is how he learned to love himself. He's got to see who he was on the inside instead of just seeing who he was in this world. And that transformed his life. It transformed once he saw that he was pure love and he loved himself. His life changed. And he said that was 3 years ago. And he said that he's got such a wonderful life now and he's so happy. And I was just like, you know, it's such a beautiful thing. And then plus, this is another thing where people have to really recognize that everybody has, you know, because even when I had seen his video, I almost went past it because I was just like, oh, he's just going to talk about something dark. You know, he just, you know, just seems very dark. And then he said something so beautiful and uplifting. And that is the thing, is like, we can't get stuck on the packaging. We have to recognize what's inside. And you know, this is another one too. I saw this guy this morning. It was one of the ones who was just beat down on the money thing. And his rent was going up from 1900, and I think he lived at this place since 2017, and his rent was 1900. I think he has a girlfriend he lives with, and then the rent just went up to 2500, like a giant jumps. All these people are having these same situations. And one thing too is, you know, like apartment complexes, that will be a lot more corporate based, a lot more in your face, kind of like, who gives a shit? He goes, it's so clear that we're just numbers. We don't matter at all. And he said that it's so crazy because he even went and tried to talk to him. And they were like really snotty to him. Oh, so we should lower your rent? Lower it? You should just not raise it, motherfucker. And so he said, it was just so rude and stuff. And he said that they just give him no value. He said all your value to these people is based on money. And this guy was like, I speak 3 languages. I'm well educated and stuff like that. And I have no value to these people. And yeah, the only value you have is what you will dedicate your time to make them rich. As long as you're making them rich, you've got value as a number. But other than that, just like, no, you don't have any value. We are here to make our own lives. They just want to control it. So there's something else I was thinking when I was saying that. But the whole thing too is the destabilizing to get more people homeless. And this is the backfire on that kind of thing from the people who are home renters, because that is, so that all of these people who, there was a lot of people who decided to make that their business, is to get rentals. Even the Airbnbs, but I think the Airbnbs, like, they had a really dead spot in 2020, and a lot of them lost their business. But, people are traveling more, even though it's dangerous as fuck. And, but so a lot of people lost their Airbnb businesses, but then a lot of other people started theirs. It's this rotation. But then you have the people who are renting houses, renting space to others, that's their business. So they've got all these rental houses, and then they're jacking up the rent. And I'm wondering what pressure has been being put on some of these people. Like, something is going on to do this. And then the people are playing their part and raising the rent. But the backlash is going to be, you're not going to have a renter. So you're going to also go bankrupt. So if you were being more, having more humanity towards your renter, and you were having more care and kindness, then you wouldn't raise the rent, and it would be multi-beneficial to you, both of you, because you would continue to have someone there. I would even, if I was one of those people, I'd be lowering my rent on places to help people, because then they're going to be a lot more, loyal to you. But these people, especially like that guy's been living there from 2017, and then you're going to jack the rent up $600 and then expect that they're not going to complain. I mean, these people just take. And, what is it, Tootie Booty? And she is. So, anyways, that whole backlash, that is going to fall back on all of these people who are going to lose. I mean, everything is becoming more unstable, and greed is not the beast you want to be feeding right now. Compassion and unity is what we all need to come together, because together we stand, we're strong. Apart, we stand and we're weak, falling apart, being killed. Like, and the amount of, even just that woman's house burning down. Like, I know they are, and that woman, so she said that they were all just outside. She was having a big old party that day with her family. She had a whole bunch of family over. She had a new grandbaby. Everybody was there celebrating. They were having a big barbecue. They got all the kids there. Everybody's outside playing. And then the fire broke out in the garage. And she said they were just outside. And all of a sudden her husband comes running out and says, we got to get out of here. And so they start grabbing the kids. And she said she opened the garage door and it was just flames and smoke and stuff. So they run out, and then the firemen got there, but they watched the whole thing. There was the whole house. So it started in the garage. When the firemen got there, it was in the garage, but it had moved through the attic, and then and electrical, and how they wire the house. Like, all this stuff is done on purpose. And she was older. I bet she was probably older than me, and she had 20 years in that house. So, I'm sure she was planning on that being her retirement home. Like, she wasn't going, I mean, it could have even already been paid off. But see, and then, insurance isn't going to pay stuff. The insurance is going to go bankrupt. There's way too many claims. Like, there's no insurance company out there that can pay all these houses that are going for a loss right now and all these storms. No fucking way. It's just gonna all bankrupt. It's just gonna be one thing after another, falling, falling, falling. And it's like, oh my God, like how, it kind of, I just got this visual of in the Game of Thrones. Um, I think it was after she was, the dragons came in and were burning everything up, and all these different people. I think even, I can't think of the name, the brother and sister that were a couple, that when they were in the standing in that room and everything is falling down around them and they just keep standing there. It's like, that is what it seems like right now. Everything is falling down around people and they just keep standing there. It's like, you gotta pay attention and see what's happening around here. Like, this is danger. And I still feel hopeful, like, that, see, today's Thursday, like, the stuff with the banks is going to go down. Like, if it doesn't go, like, maybe something significant will happen on a Friday, and then it will be, I don't know. I mean, something's got to go. I mean, we can go through a couple more weeks, probably even. I mean, they've drug it out this long. But, on that, the debt clock that it has, that it's not even registering gold and silver anymore because the dollar has no value. There's no comparison. It can't compare. The dollar is just, it's like you're trying to say monopoly money. Oh, let's compare the monopoly money to everybody else's. There's no comparison. It's paper. And that is, so how long is that going to go? Well, they don't have gold or silver or oil. And also I had seen in the Nasar Gasar that there's a few countries, I think Saudi Arabia is one of them, but that part of their thing isn't going to just be gold, but it's going to be oil. And that is like, everything is going to be based on something real. No more monopoly money. And man, it's just going to be the best thing. Like, the part where we just be relieved from all debt. Even though so many people are going to fall apart because of retirement and all that stuff. But, and I do think there is going to be some sort of payback on some of that stuff. Like, if you had but some people are going to lose it all. Like, some people are going to lose, it is all of what it is. Their soul came into experience. So, I've seen like some magical things that people have had happen, and I've seen some devastating things that are happening for people. And that's all their own soul that created that whole scenario for that experience so that they could come in and experience the whole thing. And so, it's going to be all different. It's not going to be just like one set thing. It's going to be still just like super magical things and then super devastating things. But you gotta remember, every single devastating thing is so your soul, the one who's watching you, can watch itself conquer, watch itself become the victor instead of the victim. And that is what life is all about. Like, it's a video game. Come in. What's your challenge? Okay. What are you going to do with it? How are you going to overcome? How are you going to conquer? What are you going to do with your time? And so, I think it's going to be so much different too when we start coming at life from this other perspective rather than how it has been for so long. Like, there'll be a big change in how, kids are raised when they understand things on this other level and they're not being lied to every fucking day for their lives and being used and abused by this fucking system. And it's so, I see all these young moms all the time on TikTok, and, they're starting to be really concerned. Like, they plan on chipping my child. Like, and my child is going to be a slave. Like, it's horrible, what the plan is for the future of these kids and what they're doing, and then getting them all locked onto pharmaceuticals at a young age. Like, and then, all of us who have been through the pharmaceutical ringer knows what they do with the cost. I just saw somebody else saying that they had a prescription that they were paying. Their copay was, I don't know, $10 or something. Then they went to go get their prescription. Their copay was suddenly $250. Like, if you're living paycheck to paycheck, where'd that other $250 come from? So then you don't have your prescription. So then, my last husband, he was epileptic, and he did this all the time on his medicine when he couldn't afford it and he didn't have insurance. He would just stop taking it or half dose it. And I've known diabetics who did the same thing, that mess with their well, I'll just take a little bit, and it just jacks your system up more and more and more. And then plus how these scientists have even gone another level to the medications crossing the blood-brain barrier. It's all about control. And, and I really kind of feel like the MR, that word that everybody's talking about, that was, it was done on purpose, for sure. And so I think it is kind of like giving, like how you have like computer plugins, right? So I think it was something of a plug-in kind of thing. And it is almost like some of the other stuff that would happen or whatever, like I think certain chemicals even, that they could have more of a tolerance than somebody who didn't. But remember, it's all so that they can watch. It's not because so it's really going to help you in any way. It's so that they can watch, because they are always looking for this, multi-million-dollar winner drug of like, oh, this happens. Well, if we create this one and then that happens, then we'll go in and we'll save the world with this. It's like, stop creating it. Stop creating all the disease and then stop giving us all this sickness. But no, they've got themselves in this system of profit off of sick. And, and then they just got to go further in. They got to be making people mentally sick and physically sick and, drug sick. Like the amount of people that they get strung out on drugs, like watching that movie the other day about the Kentucky, and just reminding me so much of like, something I've talked about so much about when they went into these small mountain towns and started, herding the people into the community. Thus, we'll educate you, we'll give you a better job. I saw a clip the other day. This was, how I start movies, and then it's like I was only supposed to see that one thing, and then it's like, okay, I don't want to watch the rest. But and this one was one of those. I just saw like the first few minutes, but it was like a confirmation, and it was supposed to be the 1800s, and it was there's something that they did to the farmers that they, I can't remember what it was. It could have been a weather thing, but it was something they did to the farmers. And so all the farmers were going bankrupt and they were losing their farms because, they're always there to quickly take the farms. And so, that's what they were doing. And then these people, this family, oh, I remember what this is because it's a true story. It's the murder of, what is her name? Not Maggie, but something like that. It was a little girl so they left and went into town. And it is so crazy, even when they were walking, because they're out there with all the other farmers and they're saying goodbye and they're gathering their things, and all they have is, it's like a knapsack. And so then they're taking off walking. And I think it said like 30 miles to whatever city. I can't remember what city there. I think it was Chicago, as a matter of fact. But so they were, it's the way out in Illinois is in the farms, and they had to walk 30 miles to get to the city, which back then most of the bigger cities were over like by the East Coast and stuff. It wasn't as developed over on the West Coast. So she was in they did this walk, and while they were walking, it was so crazy too, because where they were, it was horse and buggy. People didn't have cars. I mean, like, even these people, they had to walk 30 miles to get to town. They didn't even have a horse left after they went bankrupt. And so I think it's something Fagan. Their first name is M, and the last name is Phagan. Some Fagan. It's some, and she's 14. It was one of their kids. So when they got to the town, I guess she went to work in a pencil factory or something. All these people who have to, I mean, they always were working in factories, like, oh, we'll give you a better life. Come into town. We'll take away your kids and we'll get you to work in a factory. And then I had just seen this other little clip thing that somebody was sharing about the 1800s and the orphan trains and stuff like that. And they were saying all these orphans were because all these immigrants that came in, and then they gave them dangerous jobs that they didn't. I mean, going up on that scaffolding, like how many, when they were building those high rises, how many men fell off those buildings? It was a lot, lots. And so they were saying that all of these dangerous jobs and factory jobs and stuff is why there was all these orphans. I think it was the lab-made babies. Like, this way too coincidental, the Cabbage Patch baby thing. Like, no fucking way. There's some of these are created. And so I don't think these are all just immigrant kids, but their plan, their solution was, let's just send them out to the farms so that the farm people have, cheap labor. They can adopt them. And then they just became, like kids that are out there, just were slaves to these people. This was kind of strange too, because this was a couple days ago. I saw this woman talking, and she said this was really strange. And I think she was talking about the 23andMe kind of thing. And she was saying that a bunch of people in her family had done it, and nobody's is matching. And so they look, and when you go in and you read the small print, it says this is just done for fun. There's no truth to it or something like that. And so I know I hadn't heard that before, but I'm not surprised at all. And so she was saying, like, all of these people didn't match in her family. She's like, that doesn't make any sense. But then her grandma, so she had a great grandma who was, I think she was like, I don't know, my age or something, and suddenly got pregnant. And she was like, well, there's no way. I think there was something even weird about the husband. Like, oh, he was gone all the time. He was gone. He was like a general or something. This was the thing where the girl who's telling the story was like, some weird shit here. So this woman was older, and I think past menopause age. Then she's married to a soldier who's way up in the ranks, like a general or something. And then she ends up being pregnant, gives birth to this baby who's the grandma of this girl. But the grandma, her DNA doesn't match anybody or anything. Like, there's a whole weird thing about this DNA. And this girl was saying, like, did they implant her great-grandmother with some sort of a hybrid? Because the grandpa was in the military, and the great-grandma doesn't know. But there's this whole weird thing about this grandma's DNA. It's not the same as the rest of the family. Like, there's a whole weird thing about it. And, those are the kind of things that are going to, keep coming out more and more, because the truth is going to keep coming out. And so, little families here, little families there, they'll start questioning things like, well, that's weird. But, all of this stuff is going to, come out, because I know I'm right about some of this stuff about the. And I had seen somebody else talking about this again, about that all of these different beings, like there was a certain group of beings, which I think it was 12 or 13, that all gave their DNA, which I'm sure it was the Palladians, the Syrians, the Andromedas, I think the Greys, the Reptilians for sure. I don't know them all, but even on the Gaia channel on Mateus DeStefano talks about this. of all the different DNAs that came from 13. And that is where they go back to that 13 original families or something. There's something, whole thing. Like, there's a lot of things that he talks about that goes with the other stuff. But so anyways, that they took all of these different beings that said that they wanted to be involved and gave their DNA to this experiment that we're in, and then put us all under this dome, and then put everybody in there together, because we are all supposed to come together and, make this world a better place. And that is all of the different beings, the galactic, coming together through us, through Earth. So that's why, it's a huge, significant thing that's happening here. And then that's why I've seen a lot more people talking about that. And it always, I swear to God, like I've said, where I will see like a black person talking about spiritual stuff, and I'll see a white person talking about spiritual stuff. And the black people, it's like it's coming from inside of them. Like you can just tell. Like they're saying, like, they feel the spiritual stuff. The white people that I see talking about it, it's almost like they're just talking about it like out of a book or something. Like, and I know that has to do with the breeding, them taking the melanin out of us to create this void of spirituality. Because if you believe you are something more, then you're not going to be a slave. If you know the truth of who you are, you're not going to sit there and bend over backwards and take it up the fucking tailpipe by these people. You're going to stand up and say, no, you want a slave? You go take care of your own damn self. These people, where people get all like, we got to do this, we got to do that. All we got to do is fucking boycott them. Everything is money to them. Stop giving them the money. And even when they're raising the rent and shit, I'd fucking buy a camper or a boat. I'd fucking be out. I'm telling you, they come in and they start trying to take my house. I'm not going to sit here and fuck around with them. I don't have the energy for these people. And their plan is to take everything away. And you got to just let it go and realize that we're going to get everything back. Everything's going to come back in tenfold. So whatever they take, we're going to have it all returned to us. But you also, you got to survive this thing. You got to take care of yourself. You want to make it through it. You got to realize, like, they're out here trying to kill me. I better fucking pay attention. And so, anyways, to me, I definitely, like, stuff is like spinning faster and faster and faster. Like I see more and more people talking about this stuff, and it's more and more people I've never seen before. I've got so many now coming up that I don't follow any of these people. And it's like one after another, and this has been going on for weeks. Like I think I'm up to almost following like 4,000 people, just because there's so many new ones that I see that keep coming and talking about everything. So, it is definitely, this mass awakening is occurring. Everybody is waking up to the truth of this fucking hellhole that we are, but then the people, who wake up and then they're angry and, they want to go out and start shooting and stuff. To me, the only time to start shooting is if they start shooting at us. And since I don't even have one of those things, then, I've got my bug spray. I've got my bayonet from my grandpa's gun from World War II. So, and, even that, I'm always thinking, because I'm sure it was World War II, but I don't know why I keep thinking of bayonet in World War II. Wasn't that bayonet in World War I? Like, didn't they have like real guns that they were shooting? And were they still out there stabbing people? Like, I don't know. I don't know. This whole world is so full of just bullshit and lies. I wish, my grandpa died when I was so young. I wish I still had him to sit here and talk to and find out more about, like, the truth of the past. Like, when that woman was telling her story, I was sitting there thinking about the orphan trains and even with my own grandmother. Is like, she never would talk about her family or her past or anything, and she was out there in the Midwest. Like, how many of these kids were just sent out there and they never really had a family bond? And then how many of them, even grew up and had their own families, but, I don't know, because I know my grandma wasn't born in the 1830s, but they lie about time and stuff. There's so much lies. Like, how can any of us that weren't there trace anything back? That's their whole thing. I mean, these people are good at formulating these lies. They own the printing companies. It's so crazy too. These people who put all their hopes into the Bible, like, uh, and to not realize that's just part of the propaganda of the books that they are printing out. Like, you can go in and read the school books and see like the propaganda bullshit. Like, it's the same motherfuckers that are printing out those. It's like, if you can recognize that they are lying, why do you think this one book is hold the truth? I yesterday I had so many people. I was videotaping something. I was like, yesterday it was like nonstop. They just kept telling me stuff and telling me stuff and telling me stuff. So I kept doing videos and doing videos. And I had done this one, and it was right when I finished, so I was downloading, and then all of a sudden it was like this loud. It was so fucking loud, and it went real quick, and it was almost like if I had a visual, it was like somebody taking like a sword or something and just stabbing it right through like that, and I could feel it go in, and it was so loud and so penetrating right through my ears. It was almost made it like it's so weird, because these things that are frequency, but the physicality of things is based on the frequency, and it's all based on your perception. So I could feel that come in, and I could perceive what it was, even though it was a frequency. It felt like it reminds me of, like, remember when they would show like the knights of battling, and they would go towards each other on their horses, and they'd have those long things. I mean, I can't think of bayonets going to my mind, but I know that's not what it is. But they had these long sword things. That's what it kept giving me this visual of, is one of those going through. And it was so weird when it did, because it was so instantaneously, and immediately when it did, this eye just went on fire and just started pouring. And I even got this red stripe that went on my face. And so I had said something right then, because I thought, I cannot be the only person. And is it certain people of certain frequencies that are attacked, which I've been suspicious of this whole time. Even when I was a child, I talked about, that those frequency attacks, but these ones, though, are another level. Like, these ones are purposely trying to kill us. So I think the other ones, it's like sometimes that was practice or something. Sometimes I would think like maybe it was just, a frequency. Like, there's people who think like when they hear it, it's the spirits speaking to them or something. But I've had those my whole life, and it is it's just like a loud frequency that just comes in and blasts you. So I did this video, and I had said, what just happened while I was sitting there, and it just blasted through. And while I was doing it, my whole eye is totally red. There's tears just pouring down. Those videos, I swear, you do a video of you crying, and everybody wants to see. But so that one started having a whole bunch of people coming in and commenting and commenting and commenting. A lot of people were like, I'm having it too. I'm having so many, talking about that stuff. But so many come in and tell me, to say Jesus, protect yourself, say Jesus' name, and you'll be protected. So many. It's like, oh my gosh. And, that they, I don't know, it's just, to me, it's just sad. Like, you gotta let go of this place, these lies, this illusion. You gotta come more in contact with yourself. And, just like that one guy, you go in and you read these NDEs, you will find some. If you read enough, you're definitely going to find some where they went to heaven and they saw angels and all of that stuff. And, because that is what their mind could accept. So that is what they created. But normally, it's always the same thing. You know, you're going to meet up with yourself, whether you recognize that or not, because it is, you are your God. It's you in charge of you. So that is who you're going to meet up with. Then you're going to go over the life experience. You're going to play it back out. You're going to watch it play, except you're going to feel it, but you're going to feel it from everyone else's perspective that you came in contact with. So you're going to play it back out. So you're going to see who you are at your core. You're going to watch how you affect others. And so, I mean, if you go read enough of those books, it will start making you understand what you're doing here. And go, you know, it matters how you treat people. It matters what you do. It matters, you know, and you do have the love. You have so much love, but you just have forgotten. You just, you know, forget. And that is, you know, they want to keep you beat down and weak so that you don't remember. Because as long as you think you're an accident or mistake and that you have to go out and work for them, then, you know, you're willing to accept whatever life that they give you. But, you know, it's a beautiful thing to see more and more people wake up and say, hey, I deserve more than this. This is no way to live. Like, I get like 10 minutes a week to do something that I want to do, and the rest of the time I'm just, you know, you are just, you are like a plugged in little bunny, like a ever ready bunny, just going from thing to thing. I mean, I've seen so many people are working like 3 jobs and need to get a 4th. You know, to me, you know, I've said it over and over and over. To me, it's like just, they start taking your shit, they take your jobs, they take your house. Just let it go. Let go and move to the next stage, the next step. Like, and you've got to come in contact with yourself. You've got to spend time in communication with yourself so that you know where to go next, so you know what to do next, you know, because it is 100% still very dangerous in all of the different places. My one daughter just told me that the weather is supposed to get better in the next couple weeks, you know, because Stella's having such a hard time. Each winter just gets worse and worse and worse for her. Man, I hope this is the last winter that we have to go through this shit. Because, you know, if they really do turn everything tropical, and it really is like, it's going to be, oh my God, what a difference. Go from this fucking ice age bullshit and then go into just this tropical. But it's going to be, you know, there's no matter what, there's going to be some trauma happening. There's going to be a lot of people losing their houses. A lot of people losing, California, Oregon, Colorado, Nevada, most of Washington State, we're all going to be underwater. So there's going to be some loss. There's going to be a lot of loss. So, you know, that is something also, you know, as a spiritual being, that you have to come into the understanding about loss and the purpose of loss, and that you really never lose anything. It's all just, you know, part of the game, so that you can understand what loss is. So, you know, anyways, you know, we still have all of this shit to get through. Yeah, I'm just really hope, because as soon as they start giving away, as soon as the banks go down and they take away all the debt, and then they start putting the money back into the communities and stuff, they're going to, I just feel so certain they're going to start doing these huge amounts of land. They're going to be giving away tons and tons and tons and tons. So even if you lose everything, like I said, I would fucking go get a U-Haul and take it. Like, all these places are going bankrupt. They're not going to be around. Like, there's not going to be these places. Even things with cars. Our cars are changing. We're not going to be driving cars. Like, part of the reason why we even drive cars is because they need to make with their fucking tires. Like, all the stuff that they use to make money off of us on that. Well, that's all going to be going away. That's all going to be exposed. And we're going to go into those, you know, flying cars. And it's going to be so much different. I think that we're going to be having like what are those things like on Star Trek? where you could just go kind of like a portal. This is something I keep seeing this footage of, and it's out on a beach. It's very strange, and it's got to, like, I don't even know how they do this. It's got to just be some sort of CGI thing. It's just a gimmick, because it looks like you're out on a beach, and then it looks like there's just like this window on the beach, and when you look in the window, it looks like it's a whole nother place, and it's supposed to be the store, and you go into this store, and it's some sort of home decor or something like that store. But you go through, so you're out on the beach, and there's a window, and that's all. There's nothing. There's nothing. Just this portal, little window door. And then when you go in that, you're in a whole nother space. But in the space that you left, that doesn't show. And that's how really portals are. There was this guy, I can't remember who was telling this story, because they were talking about, this was, I think it was a guy talking to his mom. It seems like something had happened. I don't know if they had a fire or something. And he was talking about the house, and he was talking about something with the portal. And he was saying when he was a kid that he would, these beings would come out of his closet, and they would tell him to come with them, and that he would go into the closet. And he said that when you went into the closet, it would be like you were swimming in water. And then when you came out of the water, you would be on the other side, you'd be in another place. And then he'd go around and do stuff with these beings. And but now more and more people are starting to understand that the beings that are coming to take you, that's your real family. Like, they're just coming to hang out with you, to be with you while you're down here on this mission in this place. And so, a lot of people who were so scared of that, now they're recognizing, like, oh, this is my, I mean, those people could have been his cousins, like, I don't know. But it was people from where he was from. And so he was going and hanging out with them when he was a kid. I think there's so much more of that. There's going to be so much more of people realizing and remembering and thinking like, oh, that wasn't a dream. I was really going there. I was really doing these things. I was really being around these people. And so there's going to be more and more people awakening to the magic of their own lives, because they go into denial because this world tells you that doesn't exist. So even if you haven't had experiences, then you're like, okay, well, I must be crazy. That's a crazy person. I better not talk about it. Better keep it to myself. And that's what and so many people are coming to that realization of, that there was really something happening, that they were in denial of it. They were the ones hiding. They hid themselves, and they hid their truth. And, I've just never been one of those people. I've always been willing to be called crazy. Like, I'm going to stand for my truth. I'm going to stand up for what I know. And if you think I'm crazy, well, I feel bad for you, because you're missing out on a part of the world, because it's your limiting beliefs that keep you trapped in the prison that is created for you of, it's like doubt and control. Because if you have any doubt of who you are, they will feed off of that. And, they want just total control. And like I've said, I mean, they don't even want us to, they could care less about anything of us other than the energy. Like, if they could, and they're trying to do that. They're trying to take out the energy and trying to take the consciousness with it, because they have seen like the control. I just know some of these robots. And this is another thing that's really strange. And so we'd already seen on the Tyree that he was, he worked at Xerox or something like that. And this is so strange, because this guy had done all this research, and he had seen, so where this guy worked, he worked at Xerox or something. And then he worked with this woman who was seeing one of these guys who was the instigator of the whole assault. And I mean, assault is a pretty, word when you don't live through it. But so he this main instigator, he was dating this same girl. And it could have been where this girl was divorcing him. There was some kind of thing where, yeah, a lot of guys get mad over that, especially if your wife's or your girlfriend's leaving you and this other guy, and who knows what all drama had gone on with that. Like if this guy had been, who knows how long the relationship or whatever. So I heard that whole part, and then it was like, oh my God, that's disgusting. So, don't start dating a cops person. Get them all out there, they'll come after you. And then, but now the one I had seen is uh, Memphis had released its, I guess every month or something, it will put out how much each person gets paid. So if you have a civil job, it's 245 pages, and it's Memphis' own, government pages. So you go in and you can look up every single civil job person, like it's the person. And so you can look them up and see how much they make and all that stuff. And so this girl pulled that up, and then she went and looked up every single one of the guy, all 5 of the guys' names. None of them are cops. None of them even work for Memphis. So she's like, well, where are they coming from? Like, what? Everything is such a fucking show. And I had just seen somebody else say, that they're pretty sure that some of these people who are being killed by robots already. Like, and 100%, I'm sure we have people out there. I just saw another robot person, and she looked just like a regular girl. I'm sure that we're infiltrated with these around us, and then so many people keep talking about that Linda Moulton video of her talking about in that lab where they, 4 of those things killed 29 science workers. And I don't know that, because the one started putting itself back together. And the whole thing too is like it was communicating with a satellite, and somebody in the satellite was directing them or something to put itself back together, which is right there, that's super soldier written all over it. And I mean, and then you got to see, even with this government, like their own people are expendable. They don't give a fuck. 29 scientists, blah, fuck them and kill them. We'll go down to MIT. We'll get a few more. We'll get some, some dirt on them. We'll hold them captive. And oh my gosh, so many more women. I don't know. Some of these is like I've all of them been speaking out about this for a long time, and they're just like a whole bunch more all of a sudden. But oh my God. This sick shit with these people who are making these accounts for their kids. Oh my Lord. This one was just this little girl, 12 years old, little fucking girl. And then you look at the family picture. I'm telling you, you would, seeing this family at church would have would have been completely normal. They did not look at all like anything strange or sketchy. They look like totally upstanding suburban couple with this beautiful little girl. And this is only one. I mean, there's tons of these. But so the person who was exposing these ones, so they take these pictures, the little girl, and like, oh my God, these people, like, what the fuck? And so they went in and looked, and every fucking follower was an old man over 50. And what gets sick is because these motherfucking parents go in and communicate with them. And all these men come right out and say, like, oh man, she's hot, man, I really want, all that kind of stuff in the comments. You can see them. And the parents sit there, oh, thank you. Oh, thank you. She is beautiful, isn't she? Yes, if you'd like to send us a gift. So all these parents are profiting and making money off of their young, pretty girls, so that and probably, I'm sure they're doing it with boys too. I saw one that this was a grandma, and she had a 4-month-old infant that she was holding in a G-string, showing her the baby's butt. Who do you think is looking? Where do you think those pictures end up? Like, what in the hell? Like, this is what I've been saying since the beginning, since I started speaking. It's not just it's people who start feeding the darkness inside of themselves. Like you, oh man. And there was so many. And this isn't just one girl that I'm seeing who is exposing these people. And it's not just one family. It's multiple. And they're all over Instagram. And they all have these accounts so that these dirty old men can pay these families to ogle their daughter. And these people are like all in it. It's like, how do you think your daughter is going to feel when she's 20 and, somebody's coming up to her, oh, yeah, I've got a whole packet of pictures of you. Funny enough, I saw that in a movie, a Lifetime movie, of course, true story. But so this little girl, she was abused as a child. She was taken, by the pervs, and they took a bunch of pictures and all that stuff. And her pictures became super well known, because there was so many, even with the police. Like, everybody was like, who is this girl? And, a lot of her stuff was like really pervy. It wasn't just pictures of her, in a short skirt with her legs crossed and showing her toes and weird shit. No, these were a lot more. And so they were like, who is this girl? And she had gotten older and survived. I think that she may have even, there was a whole thing, like maybe she wasn't even sure who she was for a while or something. I don't know. But all of that stuff, as she got older, all of this stuff was surfacing. And of course, that's going to affect somebody. Like, you got all these, and she would have these old men come up to her that she didn't even know who they were. I don't remember the whole story, but, it's not good. These parents, it's like, it's not even, a pervy old uncle doing it. It's your own mother and father who are marketing you so they don't have to work, so they can make money off of you. Like, that's stuff that people will have to face in themselves. Like, those are the people that should be nervous about their near-death experience, like going in and facing that kind of stuff, of using a person like that. Like, that's sick. So anyways, more and more of that, all this stuff is just going to keep coming to the surface. All of this stuff, more and more, because more and more people have to see their own darkness, their own corruption that is living inside of them. And then they have to make that choice. I don't want that in me. I want to, get this gross shit out of me. And then, the whole job of doing it is hard work to release all of the toxic behaviors and the toxic way that we've adapted into this world. So, but it's important and it's necessary. And what I say, you don't move forward unless you do it. The game won't let you. It's all with the vibration. And you don't raise your vibration along with the game, then you just go to another game. You leave this one. So anyways, like I said, keep working on you. And as all this stuff is going on all around us, it's sad and it's hard, but it is really beautiful because it is transforming humanity, it's transforming mankind, it's transforming this world, it's transforming our whole galaxy. So, all this pain and suffering and trauma that people are going through, there's great benefit to the future. So it's, just really keep excited about some of this stuff and don't get beat down, because it's very difficult when there's so much pain and suffering and so much loss and tragedy happening all around us. And just you keep on remembering, every soul has its own story to come in and play out. And, just because something's happening to one person doesn't mean it's going to happen to everybody. Each person has their own individual scenario. to overcome or to play out. So anyways, just stay strong in yours, and, you know, try and really live from kindness, especially at a time when people are having so many issues and are so down and just struggling. So, you know, we will get through this and we'll get to the other side. I'm really hopeful that I still feel very strong about February is going to be our financial. I hope it goes really fast with, you know, the land and the med beds and all of this stuff. I think it's going to go fast. I think there's going to be some confusion and some chaos and stuff. But anyways, I don't know. We'll see. Like, things are going to start happening faster and faster. And, you know, change is going to keep going. So be in the flow of change, be in the flow of receiving, because that is what, you know, that's what we want, is to be receiving, not to just constantly be giving. And everything's been out of balance so long that it's time for things to come back. So it's exciting. So stay strong and stay safe and keep working on you, and I'll talk to you later. Bye.